I would like to invite the daughters and the sons of the American Revolution to come forward and lead us in the pledge. If we'd all stand and face the flag. And I'm not sure how we start this. Maybe it's ladies first.
Thank you so much.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And if I could have the sons and daughters of the American Revolution at the podium. We are doubly blessed tonight to have some patriots here, and I have to sponsor the Constitution Week, and it's my privilege to read a proclamation from the mayor's office with that regard. Whereas September 17th, 2011 marks the 224th anniversary of the signing of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention. And whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary and the patriotic celebration which will commemorate this occasion, and whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America designating September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week. Now therefore I, Jerry Wood, Mayor of the City of Roswell, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th through September 23rd in the City of Roswell as the 2011 Constitution Week, and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals of the Constitution by vigilantly protecting its freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties, remembering that lost rights may never be regained. And with that, I'd like to recognize the Daughters of the American Revolution, who are always welcome at the City of Roswell. If you'll come to the microphone, any announcements y'all have?
I just want to thank you on behalf of the Daughters of the American Revolution. It is such a privilege to be able to accept this proclamation from you. And Roswell has always been wonderful about helping us celebrate this. I do need to mention that of the many commemorative events that the DAR does, Constitution Week is probably that closest to our heart, because it was actually the daughters who petitioned Congress back in 1955 to set aside September 17th through the 23rd every year to commemorate the signing of this great document. And we just hope that everyone in Roswell will extend to their families and to their neighbors the joy of living under our Constitution, and to please always remember that it is worth defending and worth preserving for posterity. Thank you very much.
I want to thank you for giving me this copy. This is something I studied in law school but have not practiced, have not kept in touch with. But it is a great document, and there's a lot to learn from it, and it's inspiring. Would you introduce the ladies with you tonight?
Well, these are ladies from the Atlanta chapter. I'm with the Martha Stewart Bullock chapter, and this is Donna Godfrey and Carol Rose. And then we have the SARs who are here with us as well.
Sons of the American.
And sons, what did I just say?
SAR.
Sons of the American Revolution. It is such an honor to celebrate this, and I just hope that you all will participate throughout Constitution Week to keep this document what it is and to guarantee our freedoms for future generations. And on behalf of the Martha Stewart Bullock chapter and the Atlanta chapter, we thank you so much.
Let's have a hand for the Daughters of the American Revolution. And now we're going to give equal time to the Sons of the American Revolution.
I'm not going to. I can say briefly and sum the importance of the Constitution to me personally. I think it is a document that's been copied by many but equaled by none. And we are rightfully proud as a nation to be the authors through our founding fathers of that document. I'd like to introduce Paul Prescott, our chapter color guard commander, and George Thurmond, Colonel Thurmond, and Paul Prescott. And I am Carl Bain, a past president of the Piedmont chapter of the Sons of the American Revolution. Thank you for having us.
And I'd like to read just a couple of words. The first sentence is, "We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, and ensure domestic tranquility." So it works at home, too, folks. So perhaps maybe you can take this home and form a more perfect union and ensure domestic tranquility. And it's good to have you all here tonight. Welcome to Roswell. It's always good to see both organizations and all the good work you do. And thank you for bringing that to our attention. One more hand for these wonderful people. And I have lots more wonderful resolutions to read. I've also got a... Yes. We have someone here with on the Family Day proclamation. Joanne Rooks, are you here? And Anna Jackson. Is Anna Jackson here? Hello, there's Ms. Jackson. And we do this every year, and it's our pleasure to help you sponsor this. And with that, I'd like to read a proclamation for Family Day. Whereas the use of illegal drugs and abuse of alcohol and nicotine constitute the greatest threat to the well-being of America's children. And whereas surveys conducted by the National Center for Addiction and Substance Abuse at Columbia University have consistently found that the more often children and teenagers eat dinner with their families, the less likely they are to smoke, drink, and use illegal drugs. And whereas teenagers who virtually never eat dinner with their families are 72% more likely than the average teenager to use illegal drugs, alcohol, and cigarettes. And whereas teenagers who almost always eat dinner with their families are 31% less likely than the average teenager to use illegal drugs, alcohol, or cigarettes. And whereas the correlation between family dinners and reduced risk for teen substance abuse are well documented, and whereas parental influence is known to be the most crucial factor in determining the likelihood of substance abuse by teenagers, and whereas family dinners have long constituted a substantial pillar of family life in America, now therefore I, Jerry Wood, Mayor of the City of Roswell, do hereby proclaim Monday, September 26, 2011 as Family Day, a day to eat dinner with your children, and urge all the citizens of Roswell to join together and observe this very important occasion. And if you're missing dinner tonight because you're here at the council meeting, you have 5 more days this week to have dinner with your family. I know growing up that was my favorite part of the day, was sitting down at the dinner table and Mother putting on dinner, and I still have wonderful memories of that dinner table, and that dinner table is now at my office and one of my prized possessions. So it's a very simple thing, but very effective. Just have dinner with the family as often as you can, and something you'll always remember and will make you a better person and your family better citizens. Anything you'd like to add to that, Anna?
Yes, I'd like to say that Fulton Families Matter every year has celebrated Family Day, and we bring our after-school children, their parents, our adult students together, and they have dinner together. And it's a start of something, and we try to make it fun and introduce them to sitting together at the table. And some of them don't do that. A lot of us don't do that. So it was my favorite time growing up, and it was our tradition in our home to have family dinners, and I think it's very important. And I would like to see all of you come out and join us on the 26th from 5 o'clock to 6:30 at 888 Zion Circle, which is Zion Missionary Baptist Church, in the Fellowship Hall.
I wouldn't miss the dinner, would you all? Thank you for inviting us.
You are so welcome.
Let's have a hand for Anna Jackson and Fulton Families Matter. Thank you. And next I have a proclamation to read regarding Rivers Alive. And we have a duck here. Would the duck come forward with her accompaniment? Her handlers? And this is always a fun event. Now, do we have any ducks for sale tonight? No ducks?
No, not tonight. Not tonight.
Well, you know, you're missing an opportunity. There are lots of folks out there who would love to rent a duck. You don't buy the ducks, you rent them for $3. And we race them down Big Creek, and it'll be a leisurely race this year. Last year it seems high water, and several of the ducks made it all the way to Chattahoochee and perhaps to the Gulf, and got free forever. But most of them are back for another run, and with that, I'll read our Rivers Alive 2000 proclamation. Whereas the citizens of Roswell and the state of Georgia recognize that all life is dependent upon clean water and strive to restore and maintain the chemical, physical, and biological integrity of Georgia's waters. And whereas watersheds, the key component of the hydrologic water cycle, are an integral part of Earth's systems. And whereas Georgia has 70,150 miles of streams and river that nourish our plants and wildlife. And whereas Roswell has 1,675 miles of streams and is fortunate to have the Chattahoochee River running beside it. And whereas we must bring together citizens, community representatives, and local government leaders to restore and preserve our watersheds. And whereas the mission of Rivers Alive is to create an awareness of and involvement in the preservation of Georgia's water resources through this annual river cleanup of the 14 river basins in Georgia. And whereas Keep Roswell Beautiful, in partnership with the City of Roswell, the City of Alpharetta, the Chattahoochee Nature Center, is presenting the largest cleanup in metropolitan Atlanta on Saturday, September 24th from 8:30 a.m. to 11 p.m. and there are donuts and coffee there if you get there first thing in the morning. And whereas there will be an extensive education area with activities and displays for all to enjoy. And whereas Keep Roswell Beautiful is continuing their great annual duck race to be held immediately after the cleanup at 1245 on Oxbow Road on Big Creek. Now, therefore, I, Jerry Wood, Mayor of the City of Roswell, do hereby declare September 24th as Rivers Alive Day in Roswell and encourage all of our citizens to take part in this cleanup event. And it will be a beautiful day.
Guaranteed.
Guaranteed. The river will be beautiful. And I hate to say it, there's always plenty of trash to pick up.
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, but I do believe that we make it a little cleaner every year, and we're making progress.
Well, we've actually gone down in the last 2 years. We've actually lessened the amount of trash that's been collected. We're averaging last couple of years about a ton of trash, about 2,000 pounds. But 9 years ago, we were collecting 6 tons.
Wow.
So we've come a long way.
And the turnout's gotten better.
Yeah, that was with about 125 volunteers. Now we have 500. So.
Bringing in the junk car kind of put you over the top the first time.
Bumpers, safes, yeah. So.
So anything else you want to add to? Where can they buy ducks? Rent ducks. We don't buy ducks.
You can rent ducks at keeproswellbeautiful.org. You can also rent them Thursday night at Alive After 5. You can also rent them before the race at Rivers Alive if you come out, or you can stop by Suite 235 and we'll rent you ducks. Have you rented yours?
I have rented my duck.
Okay.
I
Excellent.
have a duck in the race.
It's going to be a great day, and we'd love to have a picture with Mayor and Council and
Come
Kirby.
on, Mayor and Council. Let's get our picture taken with a duck. But I'm disappointed I have no rental ducks here.
Well, you have Kirby, Mayor. Diocese? Is that?
Always attached to
Okay, big quack.
Let's have a hand. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Well, we have one more.
One more.
Yes, sir.
National Bike Month. How could I miss National Bike Month? I see our biker is here. I just didn't have a proclamation in front of me. Am I missing a proclamation? It's not a proclamation. I would like our representative from Eric Broadville from Bike Roswell to come forward, and I believe he has an announcement to make also about an upcoming bicycle event in Roswell, which is will be great for the city of Roswell.
Yes, I will also include that. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for having me up here.
Now take off the jacket. Everybody's got to see the jersey.
All right, well, you know, I wasn't sure if I was
Take it
dressed
off.
appropriately,
Take it
so I
off.
grabbed
Take
it out
off.
of the
No,
car.
Take it all off.
I just came from youth practice, so I was trying to cover up everything, you know, the sweat and everything. We back in May, we started, Mayor, you started on May 9th with Cycle It Forward. It was a program we had here in Roswell, and it was highly supported by the Transportation Department. And Cycle It Forward was a program to try to encourage Roswell City employees to utilize the bike to the best they could. And what we'd like to do is to recognize those people who logged in their miles and award those who logged in the most miles. First off, Steve Asenbrack had the most miles, but he's disqualified. So following with that, I'd like to ask Kim Weber to come up here. Kim rode for the month of May, from May 9th to May 31st. She rode 87.19 miles. And we still have yet to sign these because I didn't get here in time. But I do have something special for you, Kim. And hopefully I have these in the right order. She gets a string bag. But in this string bag is a pair of Mix One socks, cycling socks. The coveted Waffle House bottles, 2 of them.
Because you can bike 1 mile.
And the most important thing that Kim gets as the one to have ridden the most miles, somewhere there's a hole in this bag, I'm going to make one, is a woman's Bike Roswell jersey, sleeveless.
That's right.
And your certificate.
Thank you so much.
Also in the Transportation Department, we had Karen. Oh, wait, not yet. No, your 2 are in your bag. This one's has got a comedy thing coming later. Karen Bernard rode 50.89 miles. And for Karen, I'm going to put the certificate in here. I'm assuming she's not here. Karen got a bag, 2 bottles, and a pair of socks for going 50 miles for the month of May. And then also from the Transportation Department, can you tell there's a theme here in transportation? They're all using the bike, right? Stephen Buckley rode 22 miles, and Stephen's going to get a bag and 2 Waffle House bottles. Also, Rob Del Ross decided to take it one day and ride to lunch, and he rode 2 miles. There was one more person who didn't put his name on the form, and he said he biked to lunch, and he rode 8 miles, then he crossed it out and put 2. So I'm assuming it felt like 8 miles, and it was actually 2, and I have a water bottle for him as well. But Steve, if you would mind coming up here. Even though you're disqualified, and Steve rode 123 miles for the month of May, and quite frankly, I'm a little disappointed because Steve's supposed to ride 123 miles a week.
Yeah.
And because you only did in 1 month what you should have done in a week, you get half a kit. So here's a brand new pair of bib shorts.
Oh, great.
Bike Roswell bib shorts and your bag and water bottles.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And that,
My certificate.
and your certificate.
Thank you.
So those are our awards for Cycle It Forward. I apologize it's taken so long. We had to wait till the green day to do it. But we do have one exciting announcement. Late last week on Friday, we had a visit from the directors of BRAG, Bike Ride Across Georgia. Now, Bike Ride Across Georgia is a famous event that happens every year. They pick certain parts of the state, and you ride anywhere from 60 to 80 miles between cities as you traverse the state and go from various points and cities throughout the state. And during that whole long week ride that you ride, families do this, dads towing 6-year-old kids, 12-year-old kids, high school kids, college kids. It's about 1,500 to 2,000 people. And as you can imagine, a majority of them kind of come from, this region, the North Atlanta region. And what we're doing now, and we got asked, a couple of our Bike Roswell board members have ridden Bragg, and they got excited and said, Bragg needs to come to Roswell. And Bragg looked at Roswell, and we were the only bicycle-friendly city at the time, and they said, let's check it out. Well, last Friday, they selected Roswell for their rest day. Okay, so they're going to come to Roswell High. 1,500 people are going to set up a tent city and camp in the gym, and about 150 to 200 hotel rooms will be taken up in Roswell. And they're going to be coming down with festive activities down on Canton Street, in the King Plaza shopping area, and so there's going to be a lot of activity that's going to be happening here. The best part, I think, about Bragg coming to Roswell was my wife says, why don't the whole family go? So I get to actually ride Bragg for the first time, and I'm very excited. So I got my permission slip. So my whole kids are coming. But to have Bragg come to Roswell is going to be a great economic boost. It's going to be fantastic, and you guys are going to see what cycling really does for us. And we really appreciate all the hard work that you guys put in. And Council, as you know, Bike Roswell has our annual Bike and Politics Day, October 12th. You're all invited. If you haven't gotten the official invite, this is your official invite. The ones that aren't running probably didn't get the official invite, so you are now invited. It's October 12th. We're going to start with a happy hour at 6 o'clock, and then the program begins at 7 at Founders Hall on October 12th. So I hope to see you all there.
On behalf of the city of Roswell, I want to thank Bike Roswell for bringing this to Roswell. Again, they selected Roswell for its layover because we were the first bicycle. Let me start over again. I want to on behalf of Roswell, I want to thank Bicycle Roswell for bringing Bragg to Roswell. They told us specifically they considered Roswell because we were the first bicycle-friendly community. We are the first bicycle-friendly community because of the hard work of Bike Roswell and putting together the application and organizing it and doing it year after year. And so Bike Roswell organization can take credit for this. And again, it's as Eric said, it's an economic benefit for the city of Roswell, not just because of that one day, that the 2 nights that we have 1,500 people here, nothing but to go around town and spending money, but because those families will come back following that. And I hope that we become a regular stop on Bragg when they do the east-west route, and I hope that it will become an annual or semi-annual event here in the Roswell. It will be good for the state, it's good for the city, it's good for our businesses, it's good for jobs, and we have Bike Roswell to thank for that. So let's have a hand for Bike Roswell.
Thank you.
And with that, we're back to business. Councilmember Orleans it will not be in attendance tonight. He's absent with an excuse. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Motion by Councilmember Wynn to approve the consent agenda. Do we have a second? Second by Councilmember Price. Does anyone in the audience have any questions regarding the consent agenda? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. This time we'll call liaison to Community Development Department, Councilmember Betty Price.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first item this evening is RZ 11-09 and CV 11-02, 350 and 370 Rucker Road, Ashton, Atlanta Residential LLC, land lot 1240. And this applicant has asked for a deferral until next month. And Mr. Townsend, do you have any details on that?
No additional details. The deferral date would be to the October 10th Mayor and Council meeting.
Any questions? Do we have a motion to defer?
Move to
Mr. Mayor,
defer.
I do have
Yes.
a question. I'd like to know why the deferral. Usually we have reasons for deferral, and I'd like to know the reasons that the deferral is being asked for tonight. If it's the applicant or somebody can tell me why we're deferring this. Specifically, I mean, I got the letter, but I want to know specifically.
Is the applicant present tonight?
Yes.
They'll come forward and they'll explain to Councilmember Nguyen why they're asking for a deferral.
Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, Pete Hendricks, practice law at 6085 Lake Forest Drive in Sandy Springs. If you have, I'm certain in going through the review of your packet, you'll see that the proposal that's in front of you is a rectangular, elongated piece of property, 8.507 acres. And the original site plan that the applicant had put forward but was showing a interconnection between this parcel and the Crabapple Registry parcel, which is contiguous and to the west. Crabapple Registry being zoned in much similar fashion to what's being requested of this rezoning application. And as Ashton and I would typically do and have done over the years, we immediately reached out to the Crabapple Registry folks and explained to them the scope of the application. And there was very, very strong resistance coming from Crabapple Registry over the interparcel access that had ultimately been suggested by your staff and by the Transportation Department. So we have the issue of the interparcel connection between this parcel that's in front of you this evening and also the Crabapple Registry. In addition to that, we have a concern over the transportation suggestion and requirement for a left-hand turn lane coming into this property that's in front of you for the rezoning request. So it's for a combination of those reasons, trying to see if we can't cobble out something that's satisfactory to all parties, the City Transportation Department, as well as hopefully the Crabapple Registry community, that we have asked for the deferral. Brad has been very cooperative in lending himself to the discussions, as has David Lowe. And so we think that hopefully with the deferral we'll be able to work something out that everybody, we know of no opposition, but the application has recommendation of approval. It's just certain of the conditions are problematic.
Councilmember Nguyen.
I appreciate that, Mr. Hendricks, but I met with Crabapple Registry, and I didn't think we had any more problems with the interparcel. So if I'm not out of line, Mr. Mayor, could we hear from Crabapple Registry? Because I know they're here. Mr. Harmon is here.
Well, everyone will have an opportunity to speak.
Yes, sir.
When there is a motion to deferral, if the motion passes, anyone who is here tonight will still have an opportunity to speak. But if there is a motion to hear deferral, I like to hear the folks who address not the general issue, but the motion for deferral before we then go on to decide whether we hear the general issue or not. Again, if you're here tonight and you want to be heard on, and if you can't make it back to the next meeting, you can be heard tonight. But what I want to hear from is first council's questions and comments about a deferral, and see if we get a motion and a second for deferral. If we get a motion and a second for deferral, there'll be a discussion about deferral. If we vote to defer, there would be a following opportunity for anyone who still wants to be heard on the matter in general. But first I want to hear from council if we wish to consider a deferral. So do we have a motion for deferral?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I believe that some of this was sort of looked like it was on the fast track, and I was delighted to see that the applicant asked for a deferral. So I think we can address all the unresolved issues in the intervening month. So I would move to defer RZ 1109, CV 1102 until 10/10/11.
Is there a second on the motion for deferral? Second by Mr. Tippolito. All right, at this time, does anyone in the audience wish to be heard on whether this matter should be deferred or not? This isn't to vote on the merits of this. This is simply a vote on deferring until October 10th. Does anyone want to be heard on the question of deferral? Seeing no hands up, yes, sir, come forward if you give us your name and address, please.
Yes, sir. My name is David Schondorfer. I'm at 335 North Farm Drive in North Farms. Unfortunately, I wasn't aware of any of the previous meetings, so I understand that it looks like construction started on the site today with some earth-moving equipment and other work over there, so I just was interested in what was going on with that.
If we can hear from the applicant, if there's any working, if you can tell us what it is.
Sure. My name is Mike Busher. I work with Ashton Woods Homes. The earth-moving equipment was soil testing, borings, and some excavation just to determine the extent of the soil. But it was then we covered those holes back up, and we were out of there in about 2 hours.
All right. Just to check with staff, as a land, other than this, the testing and boring, has a land disturbance permit been issued on the site yet?
No.
So if you see trees coming down and earth-moving equipment, if you'll call City Hall, but they do have an opportunity to do borings and testings. Any other questions about or comments about the deferral? Right, further discussion from council about whether or not before we take a vote on the motion deferral. Anyone else wish to be heard on this question of deferral? All right. I'm going to take a vote on the deferral, and then I'm going to open it up for anyone who wishes to be heard on the merits if you cannot make it back on the 10th. Do we have a motion all in favor of the motion to approve the deferral until October 10th? That's unanimous. All right. We're not going to hear from the applicant at this time. We'll hear from the applicant on the 10th. But if you're here tonight on this subject, and you can't make it back on the 10th, and you want to be heard tonight on this subject, we'll hear from you. We'll have another public hearing on the 10th. Does anyone want to be heard tonight? Can't make it back on the 10th. Seeing no hands up, that matter's deferred. We'll hear. And I encourage Mr. Hendricks. Is there an opportunity? Will you be having another meeting with Crab Apple Registry and the other neighbors coming up?
I'm satisfied, yes, we will, and we're going to be coordinating through your staff with transportation as well as Mr. Townsend.
All right, so if the folks in the neighborhood would like to meet with you, should they get in touch with you or our Community Development Department?
I think probably the easiest thing is Mike Busher. He's had the ongoing dialogue since the original reach out.
You want to give us some contact information, Mr. Busher?
Happy to. I have
right now. If the folks in the audience want to get in touch with you to talk to you, what would they call or contact?
You can reach me two ways. My cell phone is 404-886-1466. My email is mbusher at Ashton. That's ASHTON Woods plural.com.
Thank you, sir, and I encourage everyone who's interested in this project and would like to have an input to get hold of Ashton Woods to have a discussion with them. It's if you reach an agreement and everybody can work things out, it's much more satisfactory than us making that decision. If you can work things out. Thank you for coming tonight. And see you back on the 10th. Thanks. Next item, please.
The next item is CU 11-03 1280. Alpharetta Street, Five Brothers Auto Sales, LLC, land lot 449. Mr. Townsend will present this.
Thank you. This is an application requesting conditional use for a used automobile establishment. The subject property is approximately 3 acres in size. The property is currently used as an auto service establishment. It abuts Hogwaller Creek. North is a perennial stream. There is approximately 36 parking spaces adjacent to Alpharetta Highway, as well as additional parking in the rear of the property. This Application was reviewed by the Planning Commission, which recommended approval. Staff recommends approval of the proposed application with 8 conditions, which are included in your backup material. Do you have any other questions?
If you'll just summarize those conditions for us.
The first condition controls the location that they're allowed to be dealing with for the used car. The second condition goes similarly with number 8 condition and 3 condition dealing with additional landscaping and mitigation to the stream. Staff has recommended that they only be allowed to park 15 used cars for sale adjacent to Alpharetta Highway. The applicant has agreed to that condition. We're requesting a parking plan for the front area, which since it needs to be restriped for parking in that location. We're also requiring that additional landscaping in the front area be approved by the Design Review Board. A 7th condition requires that any trucks doing deliveries to the site that they offload on site and they not block Alpharetta Highway in any manner for offloading the vehicles. Condition number 8 was agreed to by the applicant and by staff. This controls the business license for the application. We're requiring that the stream buffer restoration and mitigation be installed within 1 year of the conditional use, or that the business license of the dealership would be suspended if that is not the case. The applicant had a concern that he would not be able to sell cars until the landscaping was in place, so we're providing him a time frame in which that can take place on an existing site to bring improvements to that location.
Is the applicant here tonight?
Yes.
Would the representative of the applicant come forward, please? Do we have all 5 brothers here?
5 brothers, come forward.
6 brothers.
This requires just a little bit of technology.
If you'll introduce the brothers before you begin, it's good to get to know the brothers here.
My name is Rob Mitchell.
I thought that was just a name like Five Guys hamburgers, but we've actually got the brothers here. It's great.
That's correct. My name is Rob Mitchell. I'm an emergency medicine physician. I'm a sponsor of the Five Brothers Automotive Group here. I wish to introduce all 5 brothers here. This is Mustafa Tashnov, Ismail Tashnov, Abraham Tashnov, Suleiman Tashnov, and Hassan Tashnov, and also employ Mr. Camille. I met the 5 brothers when they first immigrated to this country from Uzbekistan, the former Soviet bloc of Uzbekistan, in 2005, 2006. And we've become friends, and they have subsequently become full United States citizens.
Welcome to Georgia and Roswell.
They are very industrious people. They're very smart. They understand and speak 9 languages, English being the last one, which they've learned. They first opened a shop in Decatur. It was too small for their purposes, and they've chosen to relocate to Roswell, where they've chosen to live, work, and raise their children. Mustafa here has purchased a home on 555 Rocky Creek Drive, and Hassan has purchased a home at 1100 Delmont Terrace. The other 3 brothers are currently looking for houses in your community.
That's a great story. Welcome.
I have a surprise for them. They don't know this, but it is a right, privilege, and responsibility as United States citizens to vote. And I have for each of you and your wives voter registration forms.
It's not too late to get to vote in the council race.
It's very important to register to vote and participate in our civic duties. The Five Brothers organization, I need to, how do we make this thing work? Here. I need to turn these lights off. The Five Brothers organization, we have a new sign. We have a new organization. I wish to focus on this banner behind which is our Roswell banner. It says, "For a thriving community, support Roswell businesses." And that's why we're here tonight, to support them to begin to work and to thrive with their jobs. You know, this is President Obama had his job speech. This is my job speech. But we're wishing to support them to thrive in your community, to thrive personally and professionally and economically, to provide for their families and their children. What we have is a huge facility. This was at 1280 Alpharetta Street. This was a new car dealership developed in 1970. I'm not sure if it was Chevrolet or Ford dealership. And they have subsequently chosen this property because it is more than 3 acres, has 25,000 square feet of building space. It has 37 bays where they can service cars. And they have developed several lifts, a paint booth, a lot of equipment to service cars, and they wish to also be able to sell cars that they do fix and have the opportunity to do that. They're choosing to be good stewards of the property, be good stewards of the land, not allow oils or antifreeze to leave the property. They wish to contain that. They wish to recycle all plastics and cardboard, and to prevent anything from getting into Hog Wallow Creek, which abuts the property. So anyway, the goal is to help them succeed, to help them prosper, and to help them thrive in your community. We have in addition to the 5 brothers, we have Mr. Camille as an employee, as well as secretaries and other people who are part of our workforce, and we anticipate even more job opportunities as the business continues to grow. So we have the space, we have the manpower, we have the drive, and we have the 5 brothers who are dedicated to being good citizens in your community. Any questions I can try and answer for you?
Have you read the conditions that staff is asking to impose?
Yes, I have.
Are those conditions acceptable to the applicant?
They are. We anticipate having a few cars out for display, and every night we anticipate moving all those cars back behind the security fence.
Thank you, sir. Does the council have any questions for the applicant? Councilmember Price.
I'm concerned or curious, since it's an existing business, the auto repair aspect of it.
Yes.
Why did the stream buffer issues not come up at the inception of that business?
That's something I think Mr. Townsend can address.
The stream buffer issues did not come up because the business license would normally be issued with no additional review of the property, making sure that the use would be appropriate. Automotive service establishments is a permitted use. Once the conditional use requirement for the used cars was requested, then staff had the opportunity to actually review the site to see what was deficient in dealing with the landscaping as well as the stream buffer.
So you're saying if it weren't a conditioned use, if it were any of a number of permitted uses, there would be no change necessarily in the stream buffer?
Correct.
Other questions?
Yeah, I had another one. Just a second. On page 16 of 16, and in the chronological listing of the standards of review, number 20, it says the applicant has submitted an installation, maintenance, and erosion control of the stream buffer mitigation plan to the city as to how they will work to improve the existing buffer on the property. Has that plan been accepted by the city?
No.
So I don't understand why I don't understand why the applicant would put themselves in a position to move forward when they don't even know what we're going to require of them.
We had additional meetings with the applicant actually on site with the city engineer and representatives from Public Works Environmental, provided the applicant a preliminary sketch as to what we would be requiring dealing with the mitigation and buffer. That was included in your backup material. I believe it's probably the last page. So they have a pretty clear understanding what the request would include dealing with the mitigation and landscaping.
But we don't have an agreement. I mean, we don't have a clear, I mean, I just don't want them to say down the road, either their license gets pulled or there's things that suddenly we're expecting them to do that are really onerous and burdensome, which if they were using a regular permitted use, they wouldn't be required to do anything. I just want it to be clear, and before they, break ground or do whatever they're going to do, that it's clear.
We have hired a civil engineer of our own to help us to also address these rainwater runoff issues and to contain any and all pollutants on the property rather than allow those to, breach the buffer and to continue to maintain a buffer with the stream.
And the applicant wishes to move forward right now, correct?
Yes, please.
Councilman Eichelhardt.
My question is more of Mr. Townsend, I think, although you may have just answered it. In the engineering division responses in the department comments, it does have a long list of things to be considered that aren't specifically in the conditions, but are those covered in what discussion you just had?
Yes.
So even though they're not in writing on that aspect, they are being dealt with. Okay. And then I didn't see it, missed it entirely on taking a year to put in the landscaping.
Yes.
But I did read, I guess, in the Planning Commission minutes, we're not sure what trees might be going in the entire street, what lights, all that. Is that why we're taking that long to allow that?
We're giving them the plan, at least the planning opportunity, through December to February to actually, prior to December, they'll bring us a plan that we'll be able to approve. We're trying to coordinate that with what the city is putting in on Alpharetta Highway. We want to make sure that they don't over tree, but not under tree the location at that point. So we're going to coordinate that, as well as the drainage that they have to do. Is the particular issue is they've got to get pictures worth 1,000 words here. This is Alpharetta Highway at the bottom. The green area is the area that is existing buffer or will be expanded. What we have areas where we're going to expand next to Alpharetta Highway. There's some areas in this location which we've got to work around because they have a large delivery truck that has to come from this point into this point. So there's some turning radius issues that we're working with. We're trying to get as much buffer back next to the stream as we can legitimately get. Anyone familiar with this, Hogweiler Creek actually flows this way, so that we're actually designing this for the water to flow opposite, drain into this location so the impurities would settle into that location and not run directly into the creek. Probably more details than you really need right now.
That's actually good. And just to say, for our 5 guys plus, obviously the things going on with this have been strongly suggested, perhaps even required, but appreciate your efforts to really, I think, take an extra step and do a lot of things that some others might not. And as you know, we're doing the work on Alpharetta Highway, and you will have the opportunity to be one of the first to really make that whole front fit. And so I hope you'll take that opportunity to do that as quickly as possible, so that you can be our first example of how good that can look. But thanks for doing that good work on that.
Councilmember DiPolito.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Townsend, we reference the mitigation techniques going to the city engineer. Actually, I guess that's in the Planning Commission recommendations. My question is this: has this been run by our environmental department?
Yes.
Okay, so the environmental department is working in conjunction with the city engineer to make sure that these mitigation techniques are what we need per code?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. My other question is with respect to the Planning Commission recommendation where they essentially changed condition number 8. Do you prefer your language over the Planning Commission recommendation?
It was number 2.
Yes is an okay answer.
Yes.
But why is that?
We removed the sequence of events from the Planning Commission was condition number 2 was removed from the Planning Commission and subsequently replaced by condition number 8 that you see before you in the staff recommendation. Staff was unaware of the applicant's desire to be selling cars immediately. We were under the understanding that we may have the land disturbance permit, all this mitigation put in place prior to them being able to sell cars. They felt there was a financial burden on their operation not being able to sell cars if it was some months before all this work was completed. So once understanding that fact, staff recommended a condition that gave them a year time frame to be able to put this in place. There's been some discussions with the Five Brothers dealing with the landowner. They are the tenants of the property, so the landowner has to also be brought into the loop in dealing with that.
Now, what happens if there's not a meeting of the minds within 1 year? I guess that goes to Councilwoman Price's concern that we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. Do we revoke a license at that point? I mean, it seems pretty rough on them to start a business and then find out they can't continue that.
Well, I guess there's going to have to be some legal determination as to staff is looking at, we would suspend the license until such time as they do come into compliance. I mean, what we're working with is an existing situation, trying to get it as much into code compliance with our landscaping and mitigations as we can get, full well knowing, I mean, when you look at the site plan, if we were to actually put stream buffers and things of that nature, 3/4 of the building would be removed. So we're trying to deal with, an existing structure that, provides adequate improvements, that when you consider what was sitting there, I mean, we're getting probably 20% more landscaping improvements than we would even normally get because they're looking for this type of use that requires a conditional approval.
I should add that the property was not occupied for approximately 2 years, so it has not been maintained well for 2 years, so it does require a lot of upkeep to bring into code.
And my concern is for the applicant. I don't want you to get started and then realize a year from now you can't come to an agreement with staff for whatever reason. So just want to make sure, and I believe the mayor was going to this point, is you want to make sure you know going in that you don't have final approval yet until those buffers are.
We're committed to working with the city and the city engineers to make this happen.
Okay. One other question I had. Along Hogwallow Creek, I know we have a long-term plan to have walking trails along there. I don't know if those trails extend to the north side of Highway 9, or is it just on the south side? Is that something that we would want to try to look to see if we can get an easement along here to work that into that buffer?
I think if we could just get it to Highway 9, that would be I'd be glad if we could just get it to Highway 9. I don't see it extending further beyond that because of all the residential backyards it would have to go through. So I don't see, as much as I like trail easements and creek easements, I just don't see it going any further north than Highway 9. Okay. If I could get it to Highway 9, it'd be ecstatic, but to get it north of that, I just don't see that in the cards.
Well, I know that's a goal of ours, so I didn't know if the plan was to extend it beyond 9 at this point, or that was...
I don't know of any plans that extend it behind. But
I have plans that go out 30 or 40 years, but even in 30 or 40 years, I don't see this happening.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions the council may have? Anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Yes, sir, come forward. You'll give us your name and address, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Michael Norman Martin. I live at 9400 Coleman Road, Roswell, Georgia. Just had a question. Are the applicants aware that area has flooded several times over the last 2 decades?
Very much so.
Okay. Have they been advised, I guess, hopefully flood insurance or something?
We discussed that dealing with the mitigation, yes.
Okay. Well, very good. That's all. Just want to make sure they were aware, because I've seen that area in the hard rains and it does flood.
Thank you for the heads up. Does anyone else in the audience have any questions or comments? Do we have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to move to approve CU 11-01, 1280 Alpharetta Street, Five Brothers Auto Sales with the conditions as seen on page 4. Staff recommended conditions 1 through 8. I'd like to add one that staff will provide to the applicant a clear delineation of what's expected of them.
In what time frame?
Why don't you just say as soon as possible?
Okay.
I mean, I think it just should be written and clear so that they know what their goal is within the year, that it doesn't change at the last minute, and then the city, luckily would have a lot of wonderful improvements on the creek, but then they might be put out of business, and that's just hardly fair to the applicant.
Okay.
That's my motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Does the applicant have any questions?
No, thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Any further discussion by council? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. I want to thank staff for being creative in coming up with a solution for this, and Five Brothers for bringing jobs and business to Roswell, and council for approving this project. Thank you, gentlemen. You're excused.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you later, okay?
The next item is CU 11-04, 1560 Old Alabama Road, the New Community Church, land lot 612. Mr. Townsend will present this.
Yes, this is also a conditional use at 1560 Old Alabama Road. It's approximately 1.1 acres. It is currently zoned OP. The request is to use the property as a church facility. There have been 2 conditions. This is a location of the existing bank on Old Alabama Road. The first condition is related to the site plan. Second condition has been discussed, relates to a requested sidewalk along Old Alabama. As it's been drafted, there shows a 5-foot sidewalk with a 5-foot grass strip. There's been conversations with the applicant that having the 5-foot grass strip pushes the sidewalk back into some existing trees and existing critical root zones. So staff would recommend that be consistent with the other sidewalks on the location of just a 1-foot grass strip. That provides it consistent along all Alabama from the existing sidewalk that's to the south, I believe. That's staff's recommendation for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Townsend, you said a 1-foot grass strip. Aren't they typically 2-foot grass strips?
Yeah.
1 foot is not a lot of grass.
No. This is the current curb line with the 1-foot grass strip and the current we're asking it just to be lined up with that.
Is it possible to get a 2-foot grass strip and not impact the trees, or you have to be?
Yeah. This is the applicant.
I'm comfortable either way, but I would like to get the sidewalk as far back from the curb as we can, but we certainly don't want to take trees out in the process.
Oh, my name's Patrick Seferovich. I'm representing the New Community Church in this application. It might be possible. From what I looked at, it was 1 foot, and we were trying to match that. It may be possible to push it back if we could have a little leeway.
What we might do is keep the 1 foot in this side. Once we go here, this location do 2.
Yeah, my recommendation for whoever's making the motion would be to allow some flexibility in that to work with staff. But we try to get the sidewalks off the street, particularly a high-traffic street like Old Alabama, just to make it more comfortable to walk on. So if it can meander a little bit, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, we could probably do that.
We'll work with the applicant on that. We just don't want we don't want to be held with the condition that requires the 5 feet. Yes.
Okay.
Councilmember Wynn.
Mr. Townsend, so could you please give me the what we would do on the revised wording on
Condition number 2.
On condition number 2, please, so I know what I'm voting on.
Condition number 2, as it currently reads, the owner-developer shall install a 5-foot sidewalk with a 5-foot grass strip. We'll probably change the 5-foot grass strip to no less than 2 in the appropriate areas. And where it matches the 1 foot at the southern driveway to match the existing sidewalk.
And that language would allow them to do that 1 foot grass strip on the, I think that's south side, right?
Yes.
Am I correct? Because that's my area, that's where I live,
Yes.
and I know those are beautiful trees, and we
Right.
don't do anything to hurt those trees at all.
Right.
Okay, so this would give them the flexibility then?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the staff? Councilmember Price.
How many feet of sidewalk does this represent?
Linear feet,
Yes.
about 190.
What's the cost of that?
I believe it's in the 5,500, 6,000 range. That's what we've got priced out right now.
And on the rest of the contiguous street, is the sidewalk already there?
Well, there's a handicap ramp at the corner of Holcomb Woods and Old Alabama, and then there's the existing on the southwest side of the driveway. We're just connecting the two, as been required by the condition number 2.
Now, when we go through, like the city on the Holcomb Bridge, we've installed a number of sidewalks in the last couple of years. Has any of that cost been borne by the property owners?
Not to my knowledge, but I think that's more in the transportation.
Right.
You mean the improvements along Holcomb
Mhm.
Bridge? I don't believe any of that's been borne by any of the property owners on that side. No.
So what's the justification for asking the applicant to do this?
It is our policy when there is new construction to require a sidewalk for all new construction on an arterial road, and it's across the board. When there is no new construction, sometimes we take it on ourselves, but our policy is every time there's new construction to require sidewalks.
So we're considering this new construction?
A new use to this building, yes.
And the applicant's okay with this?
Well, yeah, we prefer not, but we're, obviously it was something that we would prefer not to have to do, but we will do it because the property is important to them.
Other questions? Anyone else have any questions for staff? Anything further from the applicant? Do we have a motion?
Yes. I'd like to move to approve CU 11-04, New Community Church, Land Lot 612, with the conditions as presented by staff and printed on page 4 of 16, with the following change on number 2 condition, that the owner-developer shall install a 5-foot sidewalk with no less than 2-foot grass strip along the total property frontage of Old Alabama Road.
Let's double check to make sure that's consistent with what we discussed. Is that consistent? I thought
The only part that was inconsistent was matching with the existing 1 foot, which is at the southern part of the driveway.
Mrs. Price, is that acceptable to make
Yeah.
that change?
Then adding, with the exception of the contiguous area where it would be allowed to be 1 foot.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second by Councilmember DiPolito. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments about this application? Any further discussion by council? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously.
And next item is RZ 11-07, text amendment regarding the creation of a compact parking space size and allowance for percentage of compact parking spaces. This is the first reading of this text amendment. Mr. Townsend.
Yes, this is a proposed text amendment amending in the zoning ordinance, Chapter 17.3.1, parking space and parking aisle specifications. We're defining a standard parking size, which has two criteria: 9 feet in wide by 20 feet in length, or 10 feet in width by 18 feet in length. We're adding a third option for someone being able to provide a parking space 8.5 feet wide by 16 feet in length as a compact parking space, and they are allowed to have not in excess of 15% of the total required parking spaces be identified as compact spaces. This is first reading. The Planning Commission reviewed this application and recommended approval.
The council have any questions?
Did you say not less than or not to exceed?
Not to exceed, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Do we have a motion?
Is this
identical
to what we've discussed in committee?
Yes.
Okay, move to approve.
Let's have a reading first.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. This is an ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance of the City of Roswell, Georgia, creating a compact parking space size and allowing for a percentage of compact parking spaces. Now, therefore, to accomplish the foregoing, the mayor and council of the City of Roswell, pursuant to their authority, do hereby adopt the following ordinance. The zoning ordinance of the City of Roswell, Chapter 17.3.7, parking space and aisle specifications, in Article 17, access, parking, and loading, is hereby amended to read as follows, text of which is incorporated herein by reference, and if approved, this will be the first reading.
Do we have a motion?
Move to approve the text amendment.
Motion for approval by Councilmember Price. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Eichelhardt. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Any further? Yes, Councilmember DiPolito.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm looking at some of the math on this, and we have a 60-foot wide aisle, typically, if there's 2 rows of parking. So we'd have, with a typical 9 by 20 space, we'd have 2 20-foot spaces and then a 20-foot drive aisle. Is 20 feet wide enough? And I know that's what we typically have, but a lot of municipalities make it a 24-foot drive aisle and 18-foot spaces.
We're better drivers in Roswell.
Okay, we're better. Well, if we go to an 8.5 by 16 width, don't we need to also, if we have...
We need to keep the aisle width the same.
So that doesn't really help us a whole lot. I mean, it helps us a little bit.
Depending on the lot you're dealing with, the spaces, you're going to want at least 20 feet always behind any drive aisle as a minimum. Whether you have a 16-foot space or whether you have a 20-foot space.
Yeah, I understand. But what's concerning me here is that the way this is written, we've got a 60-foot aisle width regardless of the depth of the space. So if you have 2 16-foot spaces, you have a 28-foot drive aisle. So I think we need to consider the aisle width when we look at these compact spaces.
Good point.
Do you see what I'm saying there? Because in the second paragraph, it defines the total width of 60 feet. Mm-hmm. So we just need to make that adjustment.
Can you correct that before the next reading?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments from council or the audience? Do we have a motion to approve the first reading?
I think
we have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion, raise your hands. Passes unanimously.
Before I go to the next item, I just wanted to draw attention to the mayor that we do have a scout in the audience, and he's actually stayed longer than many scouts stay during these meetings, and I'd like to applaud them for that as well, sticking through as much as they have. And I believe your name is Bruce Dwayne, and I know the mayor likes to embarrass scouts, so I just thought I'd give him that opportunity.
Well, he did not come uniformed, so he's traveling incognito. But come forward, young man. We make all our Boy Scouts introduce themselves and tell us why they're here. And I appreciate Councilmember Price calling you out.
I bet he does too.
I'm Bruce Twain from Troop 1963, and I'm here for a citizenship in the community merit badge.
Bruce Wayne, welcome to the Roswell City Council meeting. I'm an Eagle Scout, and I'm proud of it, and I encourage you to continue your scouting. And Councilmember Price's son is an Eagle Scout, so you've got a lot of friends up here. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you.
The next item is RZ 11-08, a text amendment regarding the revision of minimum requirements for used automobile sales establishments. This is the first reading of this text amendment. Mr. Townsend.
Yes, this is adding language to Chapter 10.38 dealing with used automobile sales establishments. We're adding language that would require a separate lot of record or parcel to make sure that we have no confusion that they cannot locate within shopping centers, that they have to be on separate lots of parcels.
Would you read the ordinance?
Thank you. This is an ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance of the City of Roswell, Georgia regarding used automobile establishments minimum requirements. Now therefore, to accomplish the foregoing, the mayor and council of the City of Roswell, pursuant to their authority, do hereby adopt the following ordinance. The zoning ordinance of the City of Roswell is further amended by amending Chapter 10.38 used automobile sales establishments in Article 10 specific use requirements to read as follows, text of which is incorporated herein by reference, and if approved, this will be the first reading.
Do we have a motion for approval?
Move to approve.
Motion by Councilmember Price. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember DiPolito. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Yes, come forward, please. Give us your name and address.
My name is Janet Russell, 260 Willow Springs Drive here in Roswell. I'm confused about this amendment. Is this going to apply to existing car lots? And what are you trying to do with this amendment? Restrict the amount of cars to their particular sales lot? I don't understand what's going on.
Our staff on
because
what we're trying.
I know
we'll try to answer that question.
Okay. Whoever can help me with that, because we have an abundance of used car lots, and some of them have been here a long time, and they don't follow any rules.
They do follow rules.
Sorry?
They do have rules they have to follow.
Okay, well, I have one in particular. I'll be seeing code enforcement tomorrow.
The objective of the amendment is to ensure that any new used car establishments are on separate parcels of record. That way they would not be able to be allowed to go into like shopping centers, into Lisa Bay, and then use their parking lots. They have to be their own lot of record.
They have to be a separate parcel.
Right.
Okay. Okay. And this, because right now, for example, there's a car lot on Highway 9 that has so many cars that they park them in the lot next door to them. Sometimes 16 to 18 cars at a time, obstructing traffic of the existing business that's there. And so I want to know, it's the old part of town. There aren't any strip shopping centers. It's a freestanding used car lot that's been there for at least 40 years. But they have so many cars that they park them now on the other side of the fence, and sometimes parallel to the street in front of the chain where they sell the cars. But if you drive behind the little shop next door, there's 16, 18, 20 cars that are theirs, parked all the way behind it. And that's why I'm asking what this pertains to, because I see it every day.
Anyone else in the audience have any questions or comments? Do we have a motion to initiate this change?
Move to initiate text amendment RC.
I apologize. If you would read the ordinance, please. Do we have the motion to approve the first reading? That would be a motion, Councilmember Price?
Yes, move to approve the first reading.
I apologize. Motion by Councilmember Price. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously.
The next item is initiation of a text amendment for Find It All Roswell temporary signs. Mr. Townsend.
This is the initiation of the Find It All Roswell banner code amendment. This allows for temporary banners for an additional 40 days for the year 2012. Staff would recommend the initiation of this text amendment.
Do we have a motion to approve the initiation?
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Price. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Diamond. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Any further discussion by council? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. This time we'll call upon liaison to the Transportation Department, Councilmember Rich DiPolito.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item is approval to accept local maintenance and improvement grant funds in the amount of $451,880.50 from the Georgia Department of Transportation and approval of budget amendment 421G2-09-12-11 to establish the grant account. Mr. Tracy Bright.
Thank you, Councilman DiPolito. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, tonight is my great privilege to ask your approval to accept money from the Georgia Department of Transportation. As you will recall, Georgia Department of Transportation GDOT LIMIC program was created to combine two separate programs. One was the Local Assistance Road Program, formerly known as LARP, and then the State Aid Program. LIMIC is a funding mechanism created and funded by the Georgia General Assembly. It's based on a specific formula of center lane miles and paved roads. In March of this year, we submitted an application to GDOT requesting LIMIC funds to resurface Pine Grove Road for $451,880.50. The limits of this project are shown on this graphic, and it will essentially go from the Cobb County boundary to Magnolia Street, and we're going to do this in two phases because we have a whole lot of things going on in that area.
Would you explain how Pine Grove was selected for this project?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. We have a resurfacing program where we rate all of our roads every year, and we give them a condition rating. And Pine Grove was at the top of our list.
Or the bottom of the list.
Or the bottom of the list. It's one of our most distressed road pavement areas. We knew that it was going to be quite costly, so we actually deferred it a year because of the other programmatic issues that we've got going on. So when LIMIC came up, we went to the Georgia Department of Transportation. We recommended this road to them. They came out and did their measurements and their assessments, and they agreed with us. And then based on the formula, they agreed to this funding amount for that road. So the LIMIC is for Pine Grove.
Will we be doing any trying to expand the shoulders for bicycles when we do this road?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Actually, we have several projects going along. There are several areas along Pine Grove which are deficient from a structural standpoint. We have an advertisement out in the newspapers right now that is due this week, and it will be for a contract to improve those structural deficiencies in advance of doing the paving, so that when we're done, we will have continuous lanes and continuous bike shoulders throughout the corridor.
Council, any other questions for Mr. Asenbrock? Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion by Councilmember DiPolito. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Wynn. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously.
The next item on the agenda, we have actually already discussed. It's approval of a change order to the annual resurfacing contract with C.W. Matthews Contracting for the paving of Pine Grove Road in the amount of $451,880.50. This is the funding of this of the grant that we just approved for the Pine Grove.
Do we have a motion for approval?
Move to approve.
Motion by Councilmember DiPolito for approval. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Eichelhardt. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
This time we have a recommendation from the city attorney to discuss acquisition of real estate and personnel and litigation. Do we have a motion for closure? Motion by Councilmember Wynn, second by Councilmember Price. All in favor, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. We have a work session immediately following this meeting in room 20 to discuss transportation and master transportation plan for the city, a list of 23 projects, and discussion of potential sites for roundabouts in the city of Roswell. From our award-winning, state-of-the-art, cutting-edge, bicycle-friendly transportation department in room 220.